Hello and welcome to the Service-Based Business Society podcast. I am your host, Tiffany-Ann. On our weekly episodes, we will dig into everything you need to know about scaling your service-based business without losing sleep. With my experience in creating over 7 figures per month and a passion for marketing, finance, and automation, this show will provide tangible tips and techniques for scaling your business. Let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. I can't believe that we are already this late in the year. I was just looking at the calendar and really realizing how few weeks there are left. I was having a great conversation this week with someone about taking the last few weeks of 2022 to really lay out their success plan for 2023. Super interesting conversation. I knew I wanted to bring it up on the podcast this week because we're all kind of at this strange time of the year where you're like, do I start it now? Do I wait till January? What's happening now? Are people going to be off? Are people, still pushing? It's this really strange time of year, and it stems from this big push towards Black Friday. So Black Friday is this week. If you are listening to this episode the week that it comes out, Black Friday is this week. And so it is this huge push in any online business for, the Black Friday push, which might I add, I started getting Black Friday ads in October. What used to be a day, then became a week. Now it's, like a full-blown month. And so, everybody just wants their piece of the pie. And it comes back to, why go sooner? Well, because whoever, if someone has $1,000 to spend and they spend it early with somebody else, well, then everybody's like, oh, I gotta be sooner next year. And, it's kind of this reverse race, but it also, all of that push and hustle really brings us closer and closer to the end of the year, where people start thinking about Christmas cards and Christmas gifts and being off. And even if your business is super busy right up to Christmas, most businesses expect some kind of slowdown between Christmas and New Year. Because even if you want to hustle like crazy, a lot of times your clients are unavailable. Lots of people take time off, whether it's your clients, your team members, people you would typically be meeting with. And so now is really that time to kind of lay out the plan of exactly what needs to happen for the holidays for your business. Our Business Concierge service, so if you haven't heard about it, Business Concierge is basically our agency being on standby for you whenever you need us. I mean, you really can't ask for much more than that. When it comes to concierge, you just pop online to the website, put in a work request. Within 12 hours, we get back to you letting you know how many hours and the cost of completing your project. Honestly, it is a win-win for everyone. And, in the last 2 weeks, we're seeing tons of requests, personalized Christmas cards, arranging client gifts. These are the kinds of things that, people are knowing they need to get done, but just not sure exactly how to do them efficiently, or, they are realizing, hey, I can outsource this. So just this, just this last week, I was reviewing some beautiful personalized Christmas cards done by one of our graphic designers. And, they were for a photographer. And the actual cover of the Christmas card is personalized with one of the pictures that this photographer took of each person's family. I mean, you can't get more personalized than that. Not only is the message on the inside of the card personalized, but also the actual front of the card has this, each client's picture on it. These are the kinds of things that, what used to be grab a box of cards from the dollar store and stick your signature in them. People are seeing and expecting more. They're expecting that better experience. But ultimately, as an entrepreneur, you can't do all the things. You can't be all the places. So first of all, I love seeing that A, client experience is always being enhanced. And B, I love seeing that entrepreneurs are finding a way to outsource this. We're still creating beautiful cards. We're doing hand signed, customized. These are beautiful, but each entrepreneur isn't sitting there doing hours and hours of work. And I love that. But I love to see the growth and progression. So, it's also that true sign that the holidays are coming when people start thinking about gifts. I saw in a Facebook community a question yesterday about, it was an agency owners group, and people were talking about gifts and who does gifts for their clients. And there's a lot of discussion about whether or not Christmas gifts are the way to go. People were weighing in back and forth about whether or not doing a gift at Christmas time, it kind of gets lost in the noise of the holiday. And I'd be curious on your thoughts on this, but I think if you're going to do a gift at any point of the year, the holidays included, it really needs to be something chosen for that specific client and not just a generalized gift, unless you want it to get kind of lost in the sea of things. I remember when I was working in corporate, we would receive tons of those like Costco gift basket type things. People would bring them, and really the office would kind of pick through them, choose all the yummy, delicious things. And it was really nice to get them. There was always some delicious goodies in there, but I didn't know who brought which basket. Sure, certain people definitely paid more than others. But in terms of, being memorable and, which person really went above and beyond or whatnot, I think that's when you can get lost in the sea of things because you really are just one of, the bunch. I think if you go that extra mile and do something memorable, do something that somebody's going to keep, something that's specific for their business, I think that goes a lot further. So whether or not you're doing Christmas gifts, Christmas cards, whether you don't celebrate Christmas at all, no matter how it affects your business, the December season always brings unique challenges and unique needs to the situation. Showing your team appreciation and deciding if you're going to be offering some kind of holiday party is another big one. And if you are going to be doing the holiday party, what does that look like? What is the budget for that? What is the liability created by a holiday event if you are serving beverages? These are all things to think about as a business owner and entrepreneur. And so, holiday parties traditionally have this piece of, often people being overserved, things get said or done. Sometimes it gets a little messy. I actually remember years and years ago, and I still know all of the people involved in this situation. So funny, I just can't not share. I was super pregnant with my first. And so it's the Christmas party, and we're going to this comedy club type space. And basically, by the time that we get to the space, one couple are being cut off. No more drinks for them. And basically, the person stands up, sends a message to the owner, says, "That's it, I quit, I'm out." And, what kicks off then is a whole sequence of events. And ultimately, I think that was on a Friday. By the Monday, the person was right back at work. Lots of extra drama. And these are the things that you want to avoid when you're thinking about adding in holiday plans. There is a liability to the business with anything that includes drinks or getting everyone together. And so as much as we always want to focus on the wonderful times and showing appreciation to the team, and this is absolutely not a don't do it. I am a firm believer in, breaking bread, if you will, and sharing the wins and also not just showing appreciation for your team, but also for their partner if they have one. Anytime that someone's super dedicated to their role within your business, that person is taking on a certain responsibility. They're taking time away from their family often to perform well, to offer great value to the business. And so, you also want to be showing that appreciation for that partner. And so I think that the holidays are a great time to do that. We just want to also be thinking about, from a business owner perspective, making sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed from a liability perspective. We don't want to be serving people a bunch of drinks and not ensuring they have a safe way home. Something, to that effect. These are the things we really want to be thinking about going into the holidays. When we're talking talking about, what is the budget? The next thing that comes up at this time of year, and often is not exactly this time of year, although it should be, it's the question of, employee bonuses at this time of year. And often, we within our agency do payroll for a number of organizations. And we, at the very end of the year, like, hey, I want to do some bonuses for people on their last check of the year. How much should I be doing? How much can I afford? What does this look like? And there's this kind of constant back and forth. And while there is absolutely no right or wrong answer to this, absolutely no right or wrong answer. You don't have to do Christmas bonuses. You can do Christmas bonuses. I often mention business owners that it can be nice at this time of year, but don't feel obligated to do it. It doesn't have to be. And realize that this can also be a tighter cash flow time of year, depending on where you're based. Tiffany, depending on where you're based, you may have several statutory or paid holidays. And so often work is a little bit slower in December because people are off between Christmas and New Year's or have reduced hours or whatnot. So it ends up being a fairly expensive time of year if you're doing client gifts, employee gifts, anything like that, plus any holiday parties, that type of thing. And then you have, less cash flow coming in because even if the work doesn't slow down, oftentimes, payment will slow down if you're working on business to business clients. Maybe the accounting department for your client is on holidays, checks are often delayed, so it can be a question of, is right now the best time to do? And so the reason I mention it on today's episode is because it's something to start thinking about now and not just thinking about, a couple days before Christmas going, hey, I really had it on my list of maybe thinking about doing bonuses this year. Should I, how much, when, all of these questions. Those are questions that we need to really be thinking about now as we're laying out the cost and budget and cash plan for the rest of the year. It's also a great time to be looking at your P&L and looking at your, net income and your compensation and ensuring that everything is in line with the tax planning you have done with your accountant earlier on in the year. If you haven't done tax planning with your accountant, now is a great time to reach out to them and say, hey, this is where we're at. This is what the business is making, approximately. This is how much I've taken home approximately. Are there any changes I should be making prior to the end of the year? If you get to the end of the year, you're reaching out to them in February, a lot of times it's harder to make changes in terms of, I took money as a draw versus I took money through payroll. There's all these different things and ways that accountants can review your numbers and your own individual tax situation. And this is why a tax accountant, as much as I never wanted to be a tax accountant from very early on. I started doing my undergraduate degree. I have a major in accounting. I love management accounting. I do not love tax accounting, but I always come back to, a great tax accountant is worth their weight in gold because they are the people who are really forward thinking and are looking at your business, your individual tax situation, and that means, yours, any person that you're filing with, if you're married or in a long-term relationship where you're filing your taxes together. Like all of these are factors that need to go into how you're withdrawing money from your business. So we want to be looking at that. We also, speaking of taxes, want to be completing a peer review if you're in Canada, a peer review in payroll. And this is to make sure that you have collected all the appropriate taxes for your employees. You want to be able to make sure that you have collected and remitted all the appropriate taxes and remittances so that if you have not, you still have a few payrolls to complete any corrections and adjustments. That's why this time of year is so critical when it comes to financial review. And so when it comes to this financial review, oftentimes, we get busy in the lead up to the holidays, wrapping up projects from the end of the year, and we want to just, almost think, oh yeah, we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later when it comes to the accounting and financial record keeping. But this time of year, it is so essential to be on it, to being proactive instead of reactive. The thing about, at the end of the year is oftentimes reactive is too late. So if you are behind in your bookkeeping, if you are behind in your record keeping, now is the most important time of the year to take that moment and get things caught up. I'm going to quickly, quick little blurb about our agency bookkeeping services. We do offer bookkeeping services, and the minimum charge is $150 per month. And we have so many clients that sit right at that $150 a month. It doesn't have to be expensive to outsource your bookkeeping. Our bookkeeping rates are $30 per hour, minimum charge $150 per month to be on our systems. So many people are surprised by the low cost of us doing the bookkeeping. They think, oh, had I known it would have been so inexpensive, I would have outsourced it years ago. But instead, people battle with it. And then, ultimately, you are potentially missing out on tax savings, tax planning. Although we don't do any kind of tax planning, that's not part of our bookkeeping services, to that we defer to your specific tax accountant who understands your individual tax situation and, the tax requirements in your area. A good accountant can't do their job unless they have the data to look at. And that's why keeping your books up to date is super important. So as we move through this time of the year, and I know nobody wants to talk about their books and their numbers at this time of the year. Everyone's like, I'll deal with it later. But you're ultimately missing out on potential opportunities and savings by doing it that way. So, it's time to catch up on any bookkeeping that is outstanding. It's time to be budgeting out the rest of this year. Looking, if you had a budget for 2022, now's the time to see and double check. Hey, where are we? What is the variance between our budget and our actual numbers? If you have a whole bunch of additional profit that maybe wasn't budgeted when you discussed your tax plan with your accountant, well, now's a good time to reach out to them and say, hey, I have this extra money. We didn't, weren't anticipating being so profitable. Do I maybe need to spend some of this before the end of the year? That could be, when we want to do up some employee bonuses. While there is lots going on this time of year, I just want to highlight that this is one of the areas we don't want to let slip through the cracks, because ultimately it really can just cost us money. So speaking of the holidays, also to mention, the Service-Based Business Society podcast will be on Christmas hiatus from December 22nd. That will be the last episode of this year. And the episodes will kick back off again January 5th. Over that holiday time, I will be spending, of course, still doing some work because I just can't help myself, and also still there for our existing clients. But our client intake within the agency will be closed also during that time. I often talk about scheduling the joy. Follow me on social media. It's something I mention, in the odd post. I struggle to take myself away from the computer and my work and whatnot, and so this year I am scheduling in the joy and taking the time and scheduling it in to take some downtime and enjoy my kids being young. And, I've got some great plans with them to bake some cookies and go snowboarding, do all the fun things. I encourage you to do the same. Lay out that plan for your business. We have, just as an example, just for things that you can be thinking about, things that you can be doing right now that can be helping you and your business over the holidays. We have already reviewed the calendar. We know when our client intake will be closing. We know when our client intake will be starting up again. We have all of our social media content scheduled through to the end of January. So a big one, we don't have to be worrying about that at all over the holidays, including all of our holiday posts. And we also know how many concierge hours will be available at that time and can be monitoring, and the intake of concierge to ensure that everyone is adequately supported as well as our team is adequately supported in their need to be able to take some time with their family and enjoy themselves. These are the kinds of things you want to be thinking about, even though it's early, because a well laid out plan is always more comfortable, the last minute thoughts and putting things together. If you run a business where you are on call, I'm thinking particularly of our trades businesses. If you have an on call service, really laying out who will be on call over each of the holidays, but also who will be on call during your team's holiday party. Also important. That person could get called away. Oftentimes that can be the most frustrating for that person. They can't necessarily partake in all of the festivities, and then they always have the chance of getting called away. But that person needs to be, all of that needs to be well organized ahead of time. So as we head into the last portion of November, one of the other pieces in the vein of what we've been talking about this episode is truly that financial review piece. We are just wrapping up and reviewing all of October financials for any of our bookkeeping clients. So that final piece before we send each month reports out to a client is for me to go through the final financial. That's not something I have delegated within our agency. It's something I take very personally. And that really is our special offer, special benefit to each of those clients, is that I'm able to review each of those financial statements and offer, of course, my own feedback on what I'm seeing in the business. And so, as we're going through those, I just want to highlight, month-end procedures are super important, and that reconciling your accounts each and every month is super important. That is our tangible tip for this week's episode. Is please, please, please reconcile each of your accounts at the end of every month. This is super important. So this does not affect accounts that are not in the business name. So if you are using your own personal credit card and you are mixing business and personal transactions on that credit card, you will not be able to reconcile that. You are reconciling vendor accounts. So like if you have an account where you charge expenses to and they provide you with a statement, end of each month, you would be reconciling those. You would also be reconciling any business credit cards and business bank accounts. And what is the purpose of reconciling? It is to compare what is recorded in your bookkeeping system with what is recorded by your bank or credit provider, and ensuring that nothing is missed. This is the number one way to recognize any mistakes, any missed receipts, any missed anything. In all of my years, have never a business that doesn't forget to upload receipts to their bookkeeping system. As much as every person thinks that they have the most incredible system for uploading receipts and that nothing ever gets missed, something always gets missed. You want to be reconciling every month, making sure that you aren't missing anything, that you're not making any mistakes. Because, a small mistake here done 100 times, just because you didn't reconcile and you didn't realize it was creating an error, creates a much larger error. So that is our tangible tip for the month. That is our tangible tip for this episode. And if you have any questions about how to reconcile a specific account, or if you get stuck on reconciling, the best place to chat about that is inside the Service-Based Business Society. You head on over to Facebook, put into the search bar Service-Based Business Society. The group pops right up. Be sure to answer all 3 questions because, as you know, we love automation and our system is automated for letting you into the group. And if you do not answer all 3 questions, including your email address, it will not let you in. So you're going to want to do that. And once you're inside the group, you can ask any and all questions. I'm often going live inside the group, answering questions, and also, offer resources on a variety of topics, so it is the best place to reach out. Well, guys, that is all for this week, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend to our American listeners, and happy Black Friday if you are offering Black Friday deals within your business. Don't forget that in addition to Black Friday, it is also Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday, so many opportunities to be offering for your clients. If that is something you wish to do, we will be offering some fantastic deals on our SEO packages on Black Friday. So if that's something that you might be looking at, getting started, now is a great time to do so. And all of those deals will be shared on both our Facebook page, Instagram page, and inside the Facebook community. Well, we are all out of time for today. If you guys have not joined the Service-Based Business Society Facebook community, make sure you head on over to Facebook and we can continue the conversation. Be sure to also follow the show by going to any podcast app and searching Service-Based Business Society, click subscribe, put the 5th star, and leave us a written review. Have a great week, and we will see you soon.